Good morning, everybody. Today I'm going to be reviewing Chapter 8 of To Kill a Mockingbird in hopefully 10 minutes or less. At the beginning of the chapter, Scout makes a point of letting us know that it's been a very, very cold weather. Now, we on Long Island, we're used to snow, but Macomb, Alabama, not so much. And Scout has never seen snow, so you need to keep that in mind as the novel progresses. She also tells us that Mrs. Radley died, maybe something mysterious, no natural causes. The biggest question was, did Atticus see Boo? And the answer is, no, he didn't. Now, Scout wakes up one morning and she starts screaming, because she wakes up to a snow, something she's never seen, and finds out also that school is being canceled. I quote, "As it has not snowed in Macomb County since 1885, there will be no school today." Now, this is very exciting for them, obviously, and they're happy. Miss Maudie, not so much. Miss Maudie loves to nurture her garden, plants, and this cold snap could destroy everything she has. Very, very worried about her flowers. So she's trying to take care of her flowers while Jem is trying to figure out how to play with the snow. And he comes up with this idea of building a snowman. Now, it doesn't advance the plot, but it really does give some characterization to Jem. I mean, he makes the snowman out of mud, and then he covers it in the snow. He borrows snow from Miss Maudie. Quite ingenious. The problem is that he makes the snowman look like Mr. Avery. Big, big belly. Not something that Mr. Avery would probably want everybody seeing. He does try to disguise it by putting on Miss Maudie's hat and a couple of other things, but it's quite clear that he is making fun of Mr. Avery. While he's building the snowman, again, as I mentioned, Miss Maudie is panicking about her garden, and she says, Jem says, "It's beautiful, ain't it? Beautiful, my handfoot. If it freezes tonight, it'll carry off all my azaleas." Miss Maudie's little sun hat glistened with snow crystals. She was bending over some small bushes, wrapping them in burlap bags. Jem asked her what she was doing. "Keep 'em warm." "How can flowers keep warm? They don't circulate." "I cannot answer that question, Jem finished. "All I know is, if it freezes tonight, these plants will freeze. So you cover 'em up. Is that clear?" In case nobody gardens, if a plant freezes, it dies. It's not like you're cold and you get warm. If a plant freezes, it dies. This is where she puts all her time and energy, and she is trying to save them. Now, the snow is not really advancing the plot. It's being used as a plot device. We're learning about other characters through how they're reacting to the snow. For example, what Miss Maudie's priorities are, how ingenious and creative Scout and Jem can be, how Atticus handles Miss Maudie when she's yelling and screaming that the kids erected a damn morphodite. Morphodite is a combination of male and female. So that is going on in the beginning of the chapter. Doesn't seem very, very important. But in the middle of the night, Atticus wakes up the children. Here's the problem. Miss Maudie wanted to keep her flowers alive, her potted plants. She left her stove on, something you never do, and her house caught fire. And it's a pretty big fire. So everybody needs to get out of the house because it's right next to each other. There's that danger of the fire jumping. So everybody is outside, and the neighbors are pitching in, trying to take care of her house, trying to save anything that they can. Even big, heavy Mr. Avery is trying to climb through a window and save some of her belongings. And I love how Scout makes fun of him. "Jem, he looks like a pumpkin." Now, we see a very good side of Macomb. Everybody is out there. The fire truck is out there. The neighbors are out there. People are scrambling around, trying to save her house. and it's cold. It is cold. The kids are outside, and it is cold. Now, Atticus tells his kids, you better not leave. He doesn't want them getting lost, getting in the fire, whatever the case may be. He tells them, don't you dare move. He then notices that there is a blanket on. As we drank our cocoa, I noticed Atticus looking at me, first with curiosity and then with sternness. I thought I told you and Jem to stay put. Well, we did. We stayed. Then whose blanket is that? Blanket? Yes, ma'am, blanket. It isn't ours. I looked down and found myself clutching a brown woolen blanket I was wearing around my shoulders, squaw fashion. Atticus, I don't know, sir. I turned to Jem for an answer, but Jem was even more bewildered than I. He said that he didn't know how it got there. We did exactly as Atticus had told us. We stood down by the Radley gate away from everybody. We didn't move an inch. Jem stopped. Mr. Nathan was at the fire. I saw him. He was tugging that mattress. Atticus, I swear. That's all right, son. Looks like all the making was out tonight in one way or another. Jem, there's some wrapping paper in the pantry. I think go and get it, and well, now I don't know if you realize what's happening, but Atticus realized that Ruth Radley came out and put the blanket on a freezing Scout. And she was so enthralled with the fire, she didn't even notice that he was right behind her. Atticus picks up on it right away. Remember, depression, people are poor. So Atticus wants to send the blanket back. Atticus, no, sir. And then Jem does something that shows he's growing up. He tries to protect Boo Radley from his own brother. He tells Atticus all of their secrets, everything that's been going on. Mr. Nathan put cement in that tray, Atticus, and he did it to stop us finding things. He's crazy. I reckon like they say, but Atticus, I swear to God, he ain't even harmed us. He ain't even hurt us. He could have cut my throat from ear to ear that night, but he tried to mend my pants instead. He ain't ever hurt us, Atticus. Atticus said, whoa, son, so gently. But I was greatly heartened. It was obvious that he had not followed a word Jem said, for all Atticus said was, you're right. We better keep this and the blanket to ourselves. Someday maybe Scout can thank him for covering her up. Thank who? Boo Radley. You were so busy looking at the fire you didn't know it when he put the blanket around you. Now, Jem is trying to protect Boo Radley from his brother. Atticus totally understands that and decides that they're not going to send the blanket back to the Radley house. Okay. Compassion and understanding. I also like that in this chapter we see a different example of courage. Now, lots and lots of examples of courage all throughout the book, like the community pitching in to help push the fire truck, Mr. Avery trying to get her furniture, Atticus getting her favorite chair, everybody coming together. We even see courage in the terms of Boo Radley sneaking out of his house to give the blanket to Scout. But Miss Maudie shows us a very interesting type of courage in the way she handles this crisis. Okay, she lost her house, she lost her flowers, she lost it all, and she could be crushed and crying and angry, but she's not. We're bringing back your things, Miss Maudie. We're awfully sorry. Miss Maudie looked around, and the shadow of her old grin crossed her face. Always wanted a smaller house, Jem Finch. Gives me more yard. Just think, I'll have more room for my azaleas now. You ain't grieving, Miss Maudie? I asked, surprised. Atticus said her house was nearly all she had. Grieving, child? What? I hated that old cow barn. Thought of setting fire to it 100 times myself, except they'd lock me up. But don't worry about me, Jean Louise. There are ways of doing things you don't know about. Why, I'll build me a little house and take me a couple of roomers, and gracious, I'll have the finest yard in Alabama. Those Bellingrats look plain puny when I get started. Jem and I looked at each other. How to catch Miss Marty? I don't know, Jem. Probably the flue in the kitchen. I kept a fire in there last night for my potted plants. Hear you had some unexpected company last night, Miss Jean Louise. So this is definitely news in the community, not just Miss Marty's house fire, but the fact that Boo came out of the house. Miss Marty puzzled me. With most of her possessions gone and her beloved yard of shambles, she still took a lively and cordial interest in Jem's and my affairs. Now, there's one more thing about Miss Marty that I want you to, one more thing I want you to point out. She's cleaning up her own garden. Her hands are all bloody. And Jem looks at them and says, "You ruined them. Why don't you get a colored man?" There was no note of sacrifice in his voice when he added, "We're scouting you. We can help you." Miss Marty said, "Thank you, sir, but you've got a job of your own there." And she pointed to her yard. So she's pointing to the snowman that now has to be dealt with. We have not seen an obvious example of prejudice within the children. So I want you to pay attention as the novel goes on, just how Maycomb has influenced these children in terms of how they see other people and other races. Okay, so that is the end of my review for Chapter 8. Hopefully you're going to watch all 3 before you take the quiz today. Everybody, stay well.